All right, welcome back to One True Podcast. With me, as always, is Zach Smith, right there on my screen, but probably is going to end up over here. And a couple guys that need no introduction. Kirk Bowles, Cedric Golden of the Austin American-Statesman. I sure hope we get to still see you guys after Texas bolts.
You won't.
Probably not. Not if it's up to Texas.
Oh, man. Well, maybe they'll play in basketball or baseball or something.
Hoops.
Oh, they'll do that. I think they'll do it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see you at a bowl game, too.
Maybe.
Probably not this year.
Yeah, probably not this year. So, guys, it is the 113th meeting between Baylor and Texas on Saturday. Kirk Bowles has seen a few of them.
113.
Them all.
Remember that first one in the 19th century? Took the stagecoach to Waco. It's 12 people, and I was one of them.
So, guys, Zach has been singing UT's praises here on the podcast all season. And
why, Zach?
I was skeptical. And then they went and beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa. And they kind of made me a believer. So, Sad, Kirk, I mean, you follow this team regularly. What makes year 3 of Sark and this team so much better than maybe the last couple?
Go ahead, Doug.
Well, 10 offensive starters coming back always helps, especially with one of those as your quarterback. The 5 offensive linemen returning intact, that helps too. And the defense, I would say, I think Sid would probably agree with me, the defense has been the constant. They've been good every game. And that's something that Sark can rely on, because the offense has kind of been slow starting. I looked it up this week. In 3 games, they've scored 3 touchdowns in their first 21 total possessions. But they've been great in the fourth quarter. They've had 2 straight games with 21 points in the fourth quarter. So I would say defense has been very solid, especially up front. Takeaways, their sacks are up, and explosive plays. What do you got, Sid?
Well, the defense, I mean, not just this season, but even in the spring, the defense won all the scrimmages. I mean, they're more explosive. They've got premier athletes on both sides of the ball. They've got young people like Ethan Burke and Anthony Hill, a sophomore and a freshman, already combined for like 4 sacks. So when you have that kind of energy and athleticism, remember this name, Jahdae Barron. He might get out of here as an All-American. I mean, that's how well he's playing, and he's they call it the star, but he's a defensive back who guards the slot usually. But I think just the continuity, his 3rd year, he's got his system in. They took a step forward last season, and they're on the upswing. Well, me personally, I still am up and down on the quarterback, Quinn Ewers. Both starts. He's a world beater against Alabama, but he couldn't complete a pass in the first half against Rice. So what does that mean? Of course, Sarkisian goes, well, Rice is better than people think. They may be, but it's still Rice.
Yeah.
Still Rice.
Exactly.
So, I just think they're comfortable. I think he has buy-in from his leadership. I think they know what is expected of them. They're a veteran group, bunch of seniors on this team. And, besides the slow starts, they're where they need to be at this point of the season.
I'll be interested to see, you mentioned defense. They got a couple freshmen from Central Texas in our area. Jelani McDonald from Conley High School in Waco, and then Darian Gillette, linebacker out of Marlin High School. Both those kids, they're pretty talented. I saw them play in a lot of sports, and so
second kid's played. The second Gillette has played.
Gillette's played, yeah. I mean, he's very athletic to say the least. He was, when you put him on the basketball court, he was dunking all the time. So, so guys, given where Texas is right now, right, and Baylor has not started very well. It's been pretty sluggish. The odds makers have put the Longhorns as a 2-touchdown favorite. I think the last time I saw it was like 14.5, 15, something like that. Dave Aranda said at his press conference this week that all he heard all offseason was, Coach, if you just win one, if you just win one, win this one. So obviously Texas is favored with good reason, but Baylor has a lot of incentive for this game. What are y'all's thoughts on the chances of a Baylor upset? I mean, is there any chance of that happening?
There's always a chance. I mean,
you're telling me there's a chance.
My daddy said that's why they play the game.
That's right.
I figured Utah would come in and just blister Baylor, after what they did to Florida. And that didn't happen. In fact, you could make the argument Baylor was the better team that day.
Should have won. They absolutely should.
So, and you add a little high octane rivalry and some emotions. You never know. One of the things is Sid was talking about Quinn, that he has done is protected the ball. He's got 0 interceptions, over 200 passes now without a interception going back to last year, and they've been good at takeaways on defense. But I just don't know. I mean, is Sawyer Robertson even healthy? And I've heard he's had a gimpy ankle, doesn't moving around too well, and obviously Blake Shapen, we assume, is not available. So I just don't know if Baylor can score enough points, to keep up with Texas, because Texas is averaging, what are they averaging, said like 34 points a game, right?
Yep.
So I would say chance, but minimal, small chance.
Yeah.
Sid, what do you think?
I want to hear from Zach Smith. I mean, I'll talk in a minute, but Zach Smith's just been sitting there. I know he's
been itching to go.
The youngest guy on the panel, but I want to
just
hear
waiting my
Zach
turn,
Smith
man. You got to respect your elders, right?
I don't want to be called an elder, Zach Smith. So your perfect hair and your olive skin.
Zach, you were saying that if with that second half against Long Island, that might have like coaxed you a little bit to even rolling the dice on a Baylor pick.
I'm more confident going into this game than I was obviously before the Long Island game. That goes without saying, but just talking to the players and seeing a little bit of practice yesterday, they're all saying the same things, right? They're all saying they're confident and it's a big game. They're respecting them, but fear no one kind of thing. But the way they're saying it is completely different than the first 2 weeks of the season. So I think that there is a confidence that Baylor has. They know that this is kind of the last time that they'll get this chance. And I know Steve Sarkisian knows kind of what he's walking into in terms of there's going to be more horns down. There's going to be, let's take one more shot at Texas. But I think the Baylor players they're up for this. They know what Texas is going to bring. They watched the Alabama game, and like I said, the vibes are high. Despite what the record might say. So, I still think Texas is favored, rightfully so, and I still think Texas is going to win, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means.
I think
those 14 points, Zach Smith.
Give me Baylor plus 14. I'll take that. Yeah.
Love it.
I think the first quarter is so important in a game like this.
Yeah.
Because how emotionally charged Baylor's going to be. And my tennis buddy and I, we played a lot of tennis tournaments, and we'd always go, all right,
put his name in there. He's listening to the podcast. Don't do that.
Larry Carlson, my best friend.
Thank you.
1 and 1A.
Your best friend, what?
Can I finish? You won't even let me finish a sentence. Larry's Carlson's 1 and Cedric's 1A, okay?
There you go.
And Larry doesn't insult me near as much as Cedric does. but when we play tennis, we want to say, let's kill their will. Okay.
Oh, I like it.
And to me, that's what dominant teams do. You go in, and Baylor's going to be so emotionally charged, just like Zach said, you got to have belief, right? And I think Aranda is going to instill that. So to me, the first quarter and first half are really important. And And Texas has been slow starting, just like I said. So it's incumbent upon the Longhorns to take the fight out of them and do it from the outset, because as the game goes along, Baylor's going to get fueled by that crowd and get more and more momentum the longer they stay in the game.
Yeah.
I love a fighter's chance. And while while you put down the T2000 tennis racket from the 70s, I think that Baylor is going to take their best shot. But talent wins in these games. Texas is just more talented than Baylor on both sides of the ball.
We saw that last year in Austin. I mean, I think, Baylor was in it for a while, but Bijan was Bijan, I mean,
well, Bijan now. He go.
Yeah, he's still going. I got him on my fantasy team.
Yeah, me too. I'm 0-2. Great. Thank you.
I am too. I'm 0-2 also. Get in the end zone, Bijan. Come on.
They could have drafted Roshan Johnson.
You should didn't draft Nick Chubb.
Oh, that's true. Ouch.
Oh,
yeah.
So I'm writing a piece this week on the history of the Baylor-Texas rivalry, which has been it's been lopsided. I mean, the Longhorns have owned it, but I kind of looking at so I originally said top 10. I've actually expanded it to 13 games just because 113 meetings, made sense. So, again, Kirk said you guys have been on this beat a while. So have I. Zach's a little newer to it. What are just some of y'all's best memories of, when the Longhorns and Bears get together, whether it's, a specific game or just coach or player, whatever?
I'll go first, Kirk. I've got 3. My favorite memory, I love when the kids run out before the game.
Baylor line, yeah.
Yeah, a bunch of little Ralphie the Buffaloes running down that field, and they're sprinting. And in recent years, that group's gotten a little older. I see some old OGs in the back of the bus trying to keep up. But I love that kind of pageantry about college football, and Texas has started to do that, but it ain't on the par what Baylor does. I really think that's my lasting memory. One of them. My first memory, and I didn't start watching college football. I was out playing a lot. We would watch Earl Campbell whenever Texas was on TV because he's from my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
But my first memory of Baylor football was watching in like 1980 or 1981, and Mike Singletary was just a monster. I was like, that guy's not even 5'11", and he was averaging like 15 tackles a game. And I remember I was watching during the 1980 season, and this is before Texas hit their little stride in the early 80s. They shut out Baylor shut Texas out 16-0, and Singletary was all over the field, and Texas went another 24 years without getting shut out after that. And that Baylor team went to the Cotton Bowl, and Alabama killed them. Mm-hmm. But I just remember tuning into the Cotton Bowl because I wanted to watch Mike Singletary, and he's still one of my favorite players. And I got to interview him when I was in Tyler. He was in for an event, a charity event, and I still have the photo of me interviewing Mike Singletary.
Nice.
My other one, there was an absolute war. I think it's 2011. RG3 v. Case McCoy, not Colt. Case McCoy. And those guys put on a show. Case threw for 356 yards. We did throw 4 picks. And RG3 was just electric. He was only 15 of 22, but he had a couple of touchdowns passing and a couple of touchdowns rushing. And Baylor just ran away at the end and won like 48-24. And I just remember how electric Floyd Casey Stadium was that day. Oh, and one more, 62-0 in 05. Just steamrolled them. Ramont Taylor comes back to his home area and scores like 3 or 4 touchdowns, gets called for unsportsmanlike, which was very Ramont's-like back then. And walked out of there. People walked out of there going, man, Texas really is going to play USC. I mean, that's inevitable now because they were just steamrolling the competition in the Big 12. So those are my memories of Baylor.
I think that 62-0, our headline was hit by a Mack truck.
Oh, man.
because Mac brought a pretty good team in here and ran all over Baylor. Kirk, what's your thoughts?
Do you want me to go over all 113 games, or do we have time for that? Probably not.
About 50.
Cedric would die on the spot. Oh, I'll go with 3 too. Probably my biggest memory was the 1963 game, because I was there as a 13-year-old Boy Scout that our Boy Scout troop used to go, and we would usher people to their seats.
Nice.
During the first quarter. And then after that, we're free to go wherever we want, wherever we can find a seat. So, and Baylor fans will remember that 63 team special, Don Troll, Lawrence Elkins. I mean, that All-American tandem. I mean, they were it. They were the bomb. And I just remember the build-up for that game. And it was just, and Texas had a 7-0 lead late in the game. I don't know if you remember Brice or Zach or said, but it's like Duke Carlisle, their quarterback, was put in at safety that last drive, ends up intercepting a Don Troll pass to Lawrence Elkins in the back of the end zone.
That's one of the games that I've got in this story. And I tell you, it's been fun going back and reading the accounts of like Dave Campbell and Kern Tips and, just different people that covered a lot of those games.
I mean, Brice, did you hear? You missed
people that didn't ever
see. Did I miss what?
A little line in there. Kurt goes, Brice, Zach said, I don't know if you remember.
We're not old enough to remember that. Come on.
None of us were born, Kurt. We weren't born yet.
You weren't born during World War I, but you've heard of it, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah, but I don't remember it. You remember? I remember my first date. I remember when I learned how to drive a stick shift. I don't remember places that I wasn't at.
What else, Kirk? What else?
All right. Well, the other two I remember is Baylor in '74. You remember first winning the conference in 50 years?
Mm-hmm. And Miracle on the Brazos. Yeah.
Miracle on the Brazos left the scoreboard lights on all night and said,
"That's cool." That's cool.
That was cool. Neil Jeffries, a quarterback, he had a couple of touchdowns, real slippery quarterback, ran and threw. I think Alcee Jackson was the star of that game too. So that was terrific. And then the other one was the '74 Worm game.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes.
I know Brice. Zach said, y'all know about the Worm game?
No. And
fill me in.
Please fill us in though.
That was one of the most famous games in the history of the rivalry. Is 1978. Baylor was 2-8. Not having the best of seasons, and Texas came in there on a high. It was Fred Akers' a second year there, and so Grant Taft, master motivator, told the story to his team in the pregame in the locker room, and he talked about these two Eskimos that went fishing every day at this frozen lake, and what they would use the same poles, the same bait, the same hooks. One would catch all the fish in the world, the other one would never get a bite. So the unlucky fisherman asked the others, well, what's your secret? And the lucky fisherman who was catching all the fish mumbled, you got to keep your worms warm. And he had the worms in his mouth. And so Grant had gotten a worm. I don't know how many worms he got. I think one.
I think it was one. I
thought one died during the week, or I can't remember. But so anyway, he said, and we're going to do whatever it takes to land the fish and to beat the Longhorns. And he pops the 5-inch worm in his mouth, and I think the place went crazy. They just knocked the doors off the locker room and beat them. It was like 38-10 or 38-14. Knocked Texas out of the Cotton Bowl.
That's coaching.
Grant, Taft still of any Baylor coach, he still has beaten Texas more than anybody else. Like, they were competitive all those years against the Longhorns, and he was a master motivator. It's still good to see him. We had a luncheon recently where they were honoring Walter Abercrombie. Walter, of course, been around here in Waco forever, but I saw Coach Taft at that. So keep the worms warm. That was a great one.
Yeah, Grant always called me that blonde-haired assassin.
Nice.
Yeah.
He didn't call you. He didn't call you poison pen.
They did that a little bit too. I'm sure y'all got that a little bit. So, anyway, those are probably my three best memories, I guess.
Those are some good ones. Those are some good ones.
Zach, is your best memory the Long Island game? I mean, you just got here. So.
I mean, I can tell you about stuff that I'm reading of, like 1910. I know none of us were around for that, right? Right.
Oh, so
1910
is on my list too. And we'll just give the podcast listeners a bit of history. That one was 7-7, or was it 6-6?
6-6.
6-6.
I remember.
Yeah, and the officiating, apparently Baylor did not like it, and it got a little crazy, and they were disputing some of the calls, and finally the coach, Ralph Glaze, I believe, said, "We're done. We're not playing anymore," and they just left. And wow. So it went down as a 1-0 forfeit for the Longhorns.
Oh my! Probably the only 1-0 in the history of the rivalry, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Lowest scoring for sure. You know?
Yeah,
they were covered that day. They covered.
I remember covering that. I filed my story on Pony Express.
Pigeon.
So, guys, the Longhorns move to the SEC will obviously effectively end this rivalry, at least for a while. And some of the others, like TCU and Tech. But it will also restore some old rivalries like Arkansas and A&M, So even more than a year away, what is the level of anticipation in Austin for that Aggie Longhorn reunion?
I don't know.
Oh, I think off the charts, don't you?
Well, they've spent the last 12 years saying they don't want to play each other,
right?
Which was crap, which was
right.
not true.
Right.
So, I guess there's anticipation. The question is, will Jimbo Fisher be a part of that mix? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They might be passing a hat around in College Station as we speak. I don't know. He's gonna have to win some more games. They're not happy right now with Jimbo. Rivalries make college football great, and they have rivalries in the pros, but there's something about those college rivalries, that inherent hatred between teams that really makes it go. So Arkansas has played Texas 3 times since 2003, 3 times in 20 years, and they just hate Texas as much now as they did in 1969. And we know what the Aggies and Longhorns feel about each other. So it's going to be fun. Count me as one that's going to miss the Big 12. I love the Big 12. I love the road trips and the friends that I've made along the way, like you, Brice, and J-Dub, and Jenny and Barry in Oklahoma, and everybody else. That part I'm gonna miss, but you guys are gonna have fun with Coach Prime. You're gonna have fun with that.
Yeah, that'll be
fun. For one season until he leaves to go coach Miami or
Florida State or something. Yeah. Kirk, what do you say?
Yeah, I would say when pretty much the only games you see on the Longhorn Network is a certain Rose Bowl. I forget what year that was. And then the other one was Justin Tucker's winning field goal to beat A&M in the last time. And it's interesting, so how long have they been gone? 10 years?
Yeah, 2011.
Aggies left in
11, 12, something like that.
They left Johnny's freshman year, so 2011, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Baylor hadn't played A&M since, right?
Correct.
And I don't hear anything from Baylor or A&M. So, man, I sure wish we played again,
Mm-hmm.
So, and we hear it all the time from Aggies and Longhorns. And there's still a subset of Longhorn and Aggie fans that don't want to have anything to do with each other. But when you announce the score of the other rival and they lose, the stadium erupts, So
mm-hmm.
That's a rivalry.
That's right.
They're in denial if they say they don't care. So
my favorite,
I love rivalries.
My favorite Aggie Baylor story, and it's really quick, is Duck. We're driving back, from Texas OU, and Dave South, the legendary Aggie radio man. It was a barn burner, and then it was at the end of the game, Baylor scored. Baylor scored, and I think it was like 47-46, and Sean Bell was the quarterback. And this is the Dave South call. Aggies, the Bears are going for 2. Sean Bell rolls right. He scores. Game over. Postgame brought to you by Aggie Insurance. Kirk and I were laughing so hard. Ran off the road. Oh my God!
I'll tell a quick story on that one. I was covering high schools at the time, and had done all my Saturday high school stuff, and I would still go to Baylor games and write sidebars and stuff, but it was usually just kind of hit and miss, and Baylor wasn't expected to win that game. No. My wife and I, Janet, we went out to eat in West, and we're having a nice meal, and I'm following the game, and they're like staying in it. And so then when we're driving home, we're listening on the radio, and I look at her and I say, I'm going to go help those guys. And so I got there in time for overtime. I was on the sideline for overtime. And like said, yeah, Sean Bell rolled out, hit Dominique Ziegler for a 2-point pass. That was Guy Morris, was at Baylor at the time. And that was a big cojones type move, because they went for 2 to win the game. And I just remember looking at John Werner standing right next to him and going, what are they doing? They're going for 2, And that was a big, big win for Baylor, because they hadn't beat A&M in a while. So
goalpost came down, I think.
Yeah, they did. They tore the goalpost down, and yeah, fun times. We miss those rivalries. Jerry Hill and I were talking this week. Baylor hasn't played Arkansas since Arkansas left the SWC. Obviously, they haven't played A&M since A&M left the Big 12. Personally, I hope the Bears and Longhorns somehow play down the road, because I just want to see Kirk and Sid. That's all I want.
Hey, well, you can see us. All you gotta do is come to Starkville. We'll be in Stark, Vegas. We'll be there.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, boys, and we're gonna have more Zach Smith next time for sure.
Hey, well, I'm the new guy here, so I'm we'll get there. Wait 40 years.
Good stuff.
Wow. I won't be here.
I will.
Me either. Thanks, guys.
Good to see you.
Y'all.